From the Sidelines on 1580 KGAL.
Here's exciting news about the greatest party album of all time. You've asked for it, and now it's finally here. The Dick Vitale Oh Baby album. Yes, the Baby Meister himself, Dick Vitale, does remakes of the greatest baby songs of all time, including The Miracles' Oh Baby Baby. Oh Baby, Baby. Sonny and Cher's Baby Don't Go. Oh Baby, Don't Go. Players' Baby Come Back. Oh Baby, Come Back! And Dick Vitale does great baby songs by such groups as The Four Tops. Oh, baby! I need your lovin'! White Plains. My, oh, baby! Loves lovin'! The Ronettes. Be my, oh, baby! And you also get Dick Vitale's amazing remake of Buzz Clifford's classic, Baby Boogie. Boogie, boogie, boogie! Oh, baby! And if you order today, we'll include excerpts of last year's historic Baby Off competition between Dick Vitale and Barry White.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby!
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby!
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby! Write today for your copy of this great album. From the very first time you hear it, you'll say, oh, baby! Oh, boy. It's Friday morning. You gotta love Friday morning. Why? Because we stopped talking conservative and liberal, and basically we get some maybe a little conservative in the sports world, some may be liberal, but it's sports. The thing you should be talking about in the world. And the man you should talk to, of course, is Wally Orderman, who is here this Friday. How about a standing ovation for Wally O? Come on. Hey. Hey. Woo. All right.
Oh, stop.
I am who I am, and I do make apologies for it, but I'm glad to be your host, whoever I am. You know who I am.
You are Radio Ray.
That's right. Do you realize my... Please. You see, that's a make good. That's and he's knocking officials all the time. I hear him on the ball games. Oh, my God, what's wrong with that man? That's called a make good right there. You do it in your own life. So why are you knocking the officials?
I'm not.
Can you tell me my heritage, please? You knew my name, Radio Ray. Can you tell me my heritage?
Well, I know.
Ethnic heritage?
Ethnic heritage.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you're German.
It's right in front of you. Radio Ray. What's Sunday?
Okay. All right.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
I can see you weren't listening to the program this morning, were you?
No, I missed this morning's morning update.
I mean, I said that about 6,000 times this morning. I can't believe that you didn't hear that.
No, I didn't.
Were you listening to the radio this morning?
A little later start today than
Were you listening to the radio?
I was not listening to the radio this morning.
Okay.
I do apologize for that. I typically will tune you in on my way to work.
Yeah. You know those people down the dial, the NPR people, the need payment regularly people?
Yes.
I decided, I've knocked them many times, as you know. those people. They think they're so smart down there and better than we are, and certainly they aren't. But Parade Magazine last week had the annual issue of what people earn.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, I say I'm not going to open the thing. And then I open it and I get depressed. I get terribly depressed.
Were you not in it again this year?
Well, my 7 figures are not enough. But you got people, making $80,000. One of the things I noted was there was a business consultant who was making about $80,000. That's a decent estimate. Not quite correct, I'm sure. I don't have the paper in front of me. A business consultant. He doesn't own a business. He doesn't run a business, has no real business concerns about the thing going business belly up, but he's a consultant and he makes $80,000.
Well, you don't know if that business consultant, though, has possibly or probably operated a business at some point.
It doesn't matter now. The thing is that he's now a business consultant. He's just telling people what they should do in business, even though he doesn't own one at the moment. I'm not asking about his background. That's right.
The consulting business is a business.
But why is that a business? There's another man who is a financial analyst. He's not really involved in the finances, but he's a financial analyst. And this, consultant, he's at least telling you something about, what you should do, giving you advice. But an analyst, what does that mean? And I can analyze my financial situation in 2 seconds. That's it.
I certainly could too.
Show me your bank book and I'll analyze it for you, whether it's good or bad. He made $100 and some thousand for being a financial analyst.
Because he's advising others on...
You think that's good?
Oh, I think they're necessary.
Do you have to know anything to be? It just
Of course.
all they do is advise and analyze. You don't know what they know, and they're paid $100,000. This bothers me. Where was I going with this?
I don't know.
This bothers me.
Bring this back around
No,
to
there was
sports.
there was a good point to this in getting back to sports. Well, I'll be darned if I can remember it. It escapes me. Because I get so depressed at that thing in Parade magazine. Then backing up from there, Good Morning Wally.
I thought you were going to go with...
I'm Rady O'Ray, the Irish thing.
I thought you were going to go with
Oh.
sports agent or sports, somehow
Yes.
sports that ties into that list.
I was just wondering if you knew my Irish heritage and was going to wish me a happy St. Patrick's Day. And on behalf of the O'Ray family, I was prepared to wish that to you. But you weren't listening this morning. I wanted to make sure that you weren't listening to NPR, the Need Payment Regularly station. Then I realized that although I've slammed them through the years, there is one aspect that I do admire about them, that they keep asking for money. And then I realized that the What People Earn thing in Parade magazine last week, that's when I thought, this NPR scam is not bad. Because that's exactly what I need. I need that so I can at least get in something in Parade magazine. Radio Ray, $1.50 an hour. But I want to be there. So it reminded me of NPR, and that's how the whole thing got started.
Gotcha.
But I don't remember why I asked you my name this morning, except, I guess I wanted to know if you were going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day on
Very,
Sunday.
very calmly and very passively.
Well, I have some...
Even though I am Ordeman.
It's Ordeman. It's not Ordeman. You can't... We all know
I
it's
can't.
Rady.
I can't make myself Irish on St. Patrick's Day with Ordeman.
It's Rady. I wonder why my parents call me Rady. I think it's probably because they misspelled Grady. It's probably Grady O'Ray, but they misspelled it. I have here, what I was going to hold up for you, is Mitch Miller's favorite Irish sing-alongs. And perhaps in warming up for St. Patrick's Day, I could put this in a little later, and we can all sing along. I'm not sure Rob Ellen's going to show up this morning. I thought Rob might be by here, but we can do a duet on this on the sing-along.
Yes, about
All right.
that. You do not want me singing on the air.
I also wanted to point out, with the connection to NPR, that there are some scams that I do appreciate, including the Need Payment Regularly thing. I now understand why they do that.
Pretty sure I know where you're going with this.
Exactly. That's where I was
Yes.
supposed to be going 10 minutes ago, to March Madness.
Yes.
Sunday is the announcement of the brackets.
Right.
Will you be glued to your TV for
I
this?
will be watching. Yes, I certainly will be.
Would you say that this is the highlight, if you had to choose one moment in sports, that this might be the biggest moment that you wait for each year because you enjoy filling out the brackets?
It's certainly a top three.
Think of any others? Any other moments?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would you rather have, the announcement of the March Madness lineup or the Super Bowl contestants?
Probably the announcement of the March Madness lineup.
Number one.
Yeah, I've got to believe it is. Yeah, it's certainly a highlight for me.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy it.
Okay.
I like I like seeing what the committee has done. I like seeing where the seedings are and where teams are placed and who they're going to play. Not as vested as I used to be. I used to pay a lot closer attention to the college basketball season overall. But I'll be glued. I'll be
All right.
watching. You bet.
Each year, big every year?
Yeah.
Name
Yeah.
10 teams in the tournament from last year. 10 shouldn't be too tough.
No,
10,
I'm not
10
wired.
teams.
I'm not wired that way. No, you.
Well, then it's not that big. It's not. It
No,
can't be.
I could do it, but
Yeah.
that'd just be bad radio.
Oh. What do you think it's been so far? You didn't say
Oh, it's
anything.
been stellar.
You haven't,
it's been
you
stellar.
didn't say anything up to this point.
But I will.
Could you? Could you?
10 teams that were in the tournament last year.
10 is not. How about 20? Could you name 20 teams
I think
from
I
last
probably
year?
could. Sure.
Yeah? Okay. So it is somewhat important to you.
You bet.
All right. Well, then, in that case, the last couple of years, I have quizzed you on the nicknames of teams from the tournament.
Right.
I'm looking forward to the announcement on Sunday because next week, should you be here, which you probably won't now, I can quiz you on the annual. What is this team's mascot?
Yes.
What is their nickname?
I will try and I'll study up a little bit.
Is that bad radio?
No, that's good radio. That is good. That's compelling stuff.
That's top of the line
You
stuff.
bet.
All right, I saw the other day that Long Island University, take my glasses off, they're distant ones, I'll read from the computer here. Where the Northeast Conference. You know the Northeast Conference.
Sure.
Big schools back
Sure.
in the East.
Yeah.
LIU.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was first going to ask you, what does LIU stand for?
That would be Long Island.
Would you have been able to answer that a moment
I think
ago?
that I would have, but I certainly couldn't tell you their nickname.
If I hadn't spilled the answer beans, would you have been able to?
I would have gotten it.
Okay. The mascot. What is the mascot?
I'm going to guess it's some kind of bird. I'm going to go with the gulls.
That's pretty good because they're on Long Island.
Uh-huh.
The Long Island Sound, as they talk about. The answer is blackbirds.
Okay.
So there's the first miss, and they've been in there.
I got to get half credit for that. I got the right species, right?
Credit for the species? No, you're wrong. Because we're going to be a little more demanding in that. We're not going to be today's typical, you get a half point, educator, or you participated, here's a gold medal. No.
No ribbons for Wally.
That doesn't teach you a lesson. Either you win or you lose.
That's right.
That's the lesson.
I'm with you there.
And the buzzer goes off. It's Blackbirds. Now, what's interesting there is this is the third straight year that the Blackbirds have been in the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
This tournament to which you look forward every year to the announcement of names that I've probably asked you 3 years in a row. So I look forward to next week and more questions on these.
I will look forward to the nickname quiz.
But I would remind you that there's one that you've probably been asked many times before and you still don't know the name.
Told you, man. I'm not wired that way. I don't have that kind of recall.
I can understand that. Why? Because I'm a compassionate poor person. As I learned from Parade magazine last week. Do you have any inside favorites now, or would you rather not say?
No, I can say I've got a couple that I think are certain. You've got your front runners. You've got your
Duke.
Yeah, you've got.
Do you consider Gonzaga a true competitor for the to win it all?
I think with the high seed that they're going to get, they very likely could end up being a Final Four team because they're going to have a great draw, which they've earned. With their conference title and their regular season record. I think Gonzaga probably ends up in the Final Four.
Well, they probably get one win because they're up, a number one seed, maybe two.
Yeah.
But are they going to come out of their bracket?
I think they're going to come out of their bracket. I think they're going to end up in the Final Four. I like Georgetown and I like Miami.
Georgetown has knocked off Syracuse, which would be my favorite team in there. The reason that I can't choose because I'd have to choose against them.
Sure.
Did you say Syracuse a couple of weeks ago when we talked about?
I did. I said that I like Syracuse and I like I like their chances to at least Final Eight. I think Syracuse is probably right up there. Miami.
Do you know where Syracuse is now in the national rankings?
I don't.
They've dropped to 19th.
Yeah.
Because they lost to Georgetown twice.
Yeah, but
including a one-sided loss the last time.
Yeah, but they are a tournament-style team. They have performed well in the tournament. With great consistency. I still like Syracuse.
But they play Georgetown tomorrow in the Big East semifinals. The 14th time that they've met in the conference and the last time.
Yeah. Because
of what's happened to the Big East.
That's right.
Isn't that sad, the whole thing with the Big East?
Well, it is, and we've talked about conferences and the teams coming in, teams going out, and the loyalty, not the loyalties, but the traditional rivalries that go away with all this movement within conferences. It's too bad. You hope that at some point it settles again, so the next generation of fans can really buy into some of these rivalries.
What's the whole deal in the Big East with the 7 Catholic schools that bonded together?
Catholic 7.
And they're going to take the name Big East. Yes.
Is that how it's going to play out?
They will keep the name alive, okay. Big East.
Okay.
How did the thing ever fall apart so badly? I don't understand that. There was they lost a couple of schools. There was a Big East. Then they got more schools that were joining the Big East, surprisingly.
I don't know that it's necessarily that teams didn't like the conferences they were in, but they bolted for more money in other conferences and the potential for TV revenue and other deals that, it's monetary.
Syracuse and Connecticut going down to play in the ACC.
Right.
What do they want to do that for? They're not the Atlantic coast. I mean, don't you actually have to be geographically located where you are in these conferences?
You would have thought that over the years that would be the case, but that's certainly certainly not.
And what about the travel for the games? I mean, like Syracuse, will Syracuse match up with Duke now in North Carolina and travel? They have to.
Yeah, they do.
They'll match down. Talk about the high school problems, and I want to talk about West Albany a little later too, and the OSAA suggestions that they move up to 6A and get your feeling on that. But at high school, it's obviously a problem because in the realignment that some of the OSA is considering, you have travel problems, travel expenses that the OSA does not take into consideration for the schools. Obviously, the colleges and their sports that they generate, the money that they generate is considerable. It's a very different basketball beast. But still, why would Syracuse, Connecticut want to start traveling down south for a game every week when they're on the road? What sense does it make to go that far?
Dollars. I mean,
And how could it be worth that much when you've got to travel that far and take a whole team and make all the plans for the travel? You have to do so many times in a year.
No, the logistics of it are incredible.
Wouldn't you lose out in the end?
No, I don't think so.
Costs you more to operate.
Well, certainly the overhead is higher. There's no question about that. But they obviously have made these moves with that part of the equation already figured out, and knowing even though that they're having to spend more. It's just like anything else in business. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and that's I'm sure what's going on here.
It would seem to me fan interest would be a key part of the generation of money. And again, to use a high school analogy, which is not the best in this case, but when Lebanon was mistakenly placed into the Midwestern Conference and we had to go to Eugene to play the games, nobody gave a sports rip down there about the presence of Lebanon in their gyms or in their football stadiums.
Right, but look at it this way. At the college ranks, if you know that once or twice a year, or once a year probably in basketball, that Duke is going to come up and play you, don't you think you're going to generate
one game?
One game.
Yes. And maybe North Carolina, but they'll probably split that up where they're on the road.
Right.
That's one game. I would think the interest would be greater, to use the analogy again, when Lebanon came back here to play West Albany, South Albany, and all of these schools in this area. The interest grew. The attendance at the games grew. You could see people when they went to Corvallis or West or South show up to see the game because, it's Lebanon. I would think the same thing, although it's not a perfect analogy, would exist on the college level with UConn and Syracuse to stay in the East, stay in the Northeast. When I grew up, those are the teams I want to see. Those are the names I know. I don't care about the South. I don't care about the rest of the teams in the ACC. I don't see how they generate more money by moving.
But those teams in the ACC, especially in basketball, are hot. That's who people want to see. It's just like the SEC in football. That's where the power is, and so you want to be where the power is.
Yeah, there's a couple. I just can't see overall that you care about Maryland or North Carolina State or some of the other teams in the ACC beyond a North Carolina or Duke. And I can't see it generating more interest than staying up there and playing the teams that you have competed against for years, and that the people that went to your school, the people who are your alumnus, the alumni, they are interested in those schools because that's what they knew.
But you just said Maryland. I mean, I don't have a globe in front of me here, but don't you consider Maryland to be a Northeast team?
Bang, got me there. We better take a break. I'm not backing off from that. There's one example. I don't know how they ever got down there, but they're a little more, Maryland with the global movement. The earth is always moving. Maryland shifted a little more to the south. You're
backpedaling. You're moonwalking like Michael Jackson here.
We were down at the tournament in Eugene a week ago today, and it was game 2 being played at this hour. Wally and Ryan were broadcasting the West Albany victory against the Milwaukee girls, and earlier we had done the Lebanon victory against Ben. So we were sitting there watching the West Albany game and listening to Scott's radio. I started to talk about that earlier, his computer. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get KGAL.com, and we tuned into From the Sidelines. And I heard Rob say at some point, well, when Kobe Bryant was younger, Kobe Bryant said, and at that point, it went to a commercial. Now, first of all, it was perfect because it sounded like this is what Kobe Bryant said, and he was promoting one of our products. I thought, that's pretty good. But I was sad for you, Rob, but at the same, Rob Allen just walked in here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was sad for you that happened to you. At the same time, I felt good that it was someone else,
Yeah.
But that was a perfect point because your last word was Kobe Bryant said,
right.
It went to a voice talking about a commercial product that I've forgotten.
Perfect. It was a perfect moment.
So maybe we better take this break before the station does it for us here. It's happened every Friday. We'll take this break. We will come back from the sidelines. And I'm not sure which. We have so many fascinating topics today. I don't see how these teams, going as far as they are, create a true interest among the sports base. If Oregon State were to go down and play Duke, what would we care? We'd rather that they're still playing UCLA, still playing Oregon, still playing the Washington schools. I don't care that they're playing Duke. I want them to play the teams in this area. I think the same thing exists in all of these conferences, and I don't understand why so many of them, the athletic directors, greed, think they're going to make more money. Perhaps in time, some of these people will regret these moves.
You mean like Utah and Colorado?
I'm a basketball analyst. Well, I don't care about them so far. I just assumed that they were out of there, Utah and Colorado. Assumed they were back wherever they came from. What are they, in the Southeast?
No, they were... I don't know.
I know where they are in the country, but I'm being...
Oh, I thought you meant what conference. I know where they are, too.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You didn't answer my question.
Where they are geographically.
We will take this break, and we'll come back and slug things out. That's what it's all about. It's a Friday slugfest known as From the Sidelines. Thank you for joining us this morning at 1580 KGAL.
Banking these days can be pretty impersonal. You've got your big banks, your internet banks, your do-it-yourself banks, and your too big to fail banks. That's wwhy you might be interested in an alternative. Willamette Community Bank. Hello, this is Bill Higbee, residential lender. You deserve better service without sacrificing a thing. So if you're feeling underserved, make the switch to the best banking option out there with branches in Albany and Lebanon.
Willamette Community Bank. Service like no other. We promise. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
The Albany Public Schools Foundation presents the iRun. Don't be confused. This is not a new exercise device. This is the iRun for Kids 5K run walk and 10-mile run on Saturday, March 16th for the Albany Public Schools Foundation. Register online at albanypublicschoolsfoundation.org. iRun for Kids proceeds support Albany Public Schools Foundation's Classroom Grants Program, enriching the education opportunities for Albany Public School District students. Let's run together.
She was born in a humble shack amidst the lemon groves of Goleta, California.
Mommy, don't cry. You know what they say?
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
I was gonna say life sucks, and then you die. But I like yours better.
And with that, Alexandra Johnson launched her lemonade stand.
Lemonade, nickel a glass.
Every day, even during the frigid California winters, a bone-chilling 72 degrees, you could find her.
You can have it sour, you can have it sweet. Little girl's lemonade will knock you off your feet.
The little girl with the sour brew wanted more, national distribution, franchises, and so she rolled out a well-budgeted advertising campaign.
Me and the rest of the Duckwakers only drink little girl lemonade.
She was made president of the International Sour Drink Association and chosen to give the keynote speech at their convention.
You all set with words of wisdom, honey?
You know what they say, Mommy.
Always advertise so consumers think of your product first.
I was gonna say never swallow a lemon seed or a watermelon to go in your tummy.
This fabricated but interesting story is to remind you that it's called advertising and it works. A message from the Radio Advertising Bureau, this radio station, and produced by the famous Radio Ranch.
Miguel de Cervantes is thrown into prison to await the Spanish Inquisition. And there he tells his fellow prisoners the story of the mad knight Don Quixote and his quest to follow the impossible dream and to honor his lady, the beautiful Dulcinea. Albany Civic Theater presents the classic musical Man of La Mancha, now playing through March 23rd. Get your tickets now at Sid Stevens Jewelers in downtown Albany or Wine Styles in Corvallis. Man of La Mancha, now playing at the Albany Civic Theater.
At Medicap Pharmacy, they know that price is an important part of your decision on where to get your medications. That's why Medicap will match any Albany area pharmacy's prescription prices. And transferring your prescriptions to Medicap is easy. All you need to do is take your prescription container in or call, and they'll take care of the rest. It's that easy.
Medicap Pharmacy will always make time for you.
Medicap Pharmacy on Clay across from Target in Albany.
Laugh, cry, or get scared spitless with When Radio Was. Weeknights at 10 on 1580 KGAL.
Well, now that we have a trio here, we'll have to get one of those Irish songs in the old machine here before we take a break and come back and do a trio. An Irish trio.
Oh, it'll be a duet, because I'm not singing.
Oh, well, we have a very talented singer over here in Rock
Do we
Island.
have any Irish drinks?
No, I'm sorry. Nothing to get you started. I know you do the karaoke stuff, but all we have here is water for you. today.
That's fine.
We'll do that in a bit. Baseball. The Beavers are playing conference baseball starting today. They play Arizona at Arizona. Now, the Beavers won their first 15 games of the year, and they lost whenever it was Wednesday or some Tuesday. And then they won the next day against San Francisco, but they lost for the first time, so that they were 15-1. They're playing Arizona, which is the defending champion in the Pac-12. The initial polls have Oregon State at number 3 in the country, Arizona at 20, which is, we'll see how that plays out. I felt good about the fact that they lost on Tuesday.
Oh, I can't disagree with that.
Why would you say that?
Oh, I think, well, for one, just emotionally, you can be pretty full of yourself if you go in some place, especially, I mean, what a tough place to start your Pac-12 season is at Arizona. I mean, that's a tough one right there. I think a loss can probably make you regroup, and just like in any sport, make you regroup, take a look at what went wrong, fix it, get right back on the field. I have no problem with that loss, especially in baseball. I mean, when college baseball, they're like 60 games or something like that they play. It's an incredibly long season, and no, I think it's a good loss.
Good. So I was happy when I found out that they lost on Tuesday. Would you say the same thing, Wally?
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Non-conference game. Non-conference game. I mean, that's what non-conference games are all about. You find out who your team is, and now, if it was a conference game, then absolutely you'd be a little upset because it means more.
Sure.
Well, I'm not talking about the fact that you're not upset by the loss. Were you actually happy that they got the loss at that point?
No.
That's my question.
No, I would not say that I was happy. I would say
I'm
that
never happy
I was
with the
content.
Loss.
At peace.
Yeah.
I was at peace with the loss. How's that?
Right.
Okay, and I can understand that. It wouldn't matter. But my question really is the deeper one of, did it please you that they lost at that point before going to play Arizona? I was happy that they did lose, that the pressure of suffering that first loss was against a team like San Francisco, not would have been 17-0 before they went to the Pac-12 and then lost to Arizona.
Right.
I would say that would hurt more if they were 17-0 going in today and their first loss was in the Pac-12.
Agreed.
Now they have lost already, so, it's...
less pressure?
Yes, the pressure of keeping the winning streak going, maybe what you were talking about getting a little, we can't be beaten. And then if you're beaten by a Pac-12 team, holy cow, the whole season could come undone. So when they lost, it's not just that it didn't matter that it's okay. I was actually happy that the loss had been suffered.
I
Reasonable or unreasonable?
Well, yeah, I can't go that far.
Well, of course you can't, because you don't see the thing in depth.
Was he jumping on the couch like Tom Cruise, just elated? Yes.
You were the philosophy major.
That's true. Look where it got me. 5 years I looked for Philosophers Wanted in the paper. Realized I was looking under the letter F and I never found a job. But as I've said millions of times on the air, I was not an English major, so who knew? But I did feel better about it, that they had suffered their first loss. They know what it's like to be beaten, and they may be a little upset at that point and wanting to regroup, rather than feeling that pressure of going, oh my gosh, we're unbeaten going into the Pac-12. I think it makes it easier to go to Arizona having suffered a loss. So I just wondered if you felt the same way. Of course you don't. Nobody ever feels the way I do. Nobody sees life as deeply. Nobody takes it as seriously.
Is this where the sad music comes in?
As I do.
Yeah, he's almost getting a little whiny.
Last year, when the Beavers did not have the best of seasons and the Ducks were the number one. Well, let's go back 2 years. The Beavers were in first place going into the last week of the season, 1 game up on Arizona. And they played the Ducks, and the Ducks swept them.
Yep.
That was one of the worst times to see that Duck team in CK Park. We decided last week, by the way, that we would call it CK Park, Copycat Park. Cat is in Kit Kat with the K. Copycat Park. It was, they're having some success up there in baseball. Why don't we get a team? No, that's not what they said. They said, it had nothing to do with the success of the Beavers. But the Ducks upsetting the Beavers 2 years ago, they knocked them out of first place. Last year, I was in Buffalo, and I was visiting my brother, and I checked the papers. This was in May. It was the last series of the year. The Beavers were not the good team. The Ducks were in first place. And they were playing the last 3 games of the year here in Corvallis. I checked on a Saturday morning in the Buffalo Evening News to see if I could find the score. They didn't have it. And then I forgot all about it. On Sunday night, I was out in the parking lot out of the place where my brother lives, and I checked my cell phone because I was on the road, was getting messages from Mary Jo, and I actually checked the cell phone. And the cell phone said something about, don't know if you know this, but the Beavers just finished off a sweep of the Ducks. And I let out this yell in the parking lot, yeah! Like that. Now it's an assisted living facility. And it was like 7 o'clock at night or something like that. And the day shift, some of the people are leaving now. There's just, a handful of people left to watch over in the evening. And some of the people were coming out of the door, and I'm in the car in front of this facility. They don't know me. Like, yeah! Like that. I looked at them, and I was afraid that they were going to come and grab me and take me back inside. And feel, I belonged in there with a little bit of help. That was a terrific moment because the Beavers knocked the Ducks out of first place as they had done to the Beavers the year before. This year, incidentally, they don't meet in the last series. They meet in the penultimate series in May. They won't finish against each other. But it starts today, the Beavers and at Arizona. And I'm nervous now because the Beavers had such a good preseason. The polls speak well of them. I'd hate to see them drop suddenly, like they've got to win this series.
No, but it is a must-win series. I mean, you got to get 2 out of 3 from Arizona.
Yeah.
You bet.
As long as you keep winning your series, you're gonna be right up there.
2 out of 3. That's the goal.
And the Ducks go down to USC this weekend. They played Vanderbilt last week and won the last game of 3 against the number 2 team in the nation, ranked 1 ahead of the Beavers. So that should be interesting. And plus, it's a sign of spring when baseball begins. Baseball manager. Football coach. Basketball
coach.
Volleyball
coach.
Soccer
coach.
Where's another manager? You see the things that I think of when I have time?
Wow.
It's a terrible thing to be me. What happened to my chair? You've got it.
He just sunk a foot.
Too bad we don't have a video of this. My chair just sank. My chair just went down. I'm sitting on the floor. My knees are up near my face.
Looks like he's about 11.
What happened? The chair collapsed. I think the chair was so excited to hear this insightful thought about sports that it just collapsed on me. There it goes. It's back up there.
Good way to hurt your back.
It certainly is. I can sue the company. Parade magazine next year, what people earn, here I come.
Sometimes he's got to feel like that chair is the only support he gets.
Yes, no doubt. Isn't that the truth?
That's right. Charlie, my chair just went to the floor. I hurt my back badly, but thank you, Charlie. You're going to put me in Parade magazine next year for what I earned this season. Another sport that has a manager. It's difficult.
What's hockey?
Hockey coach.
Is it a coach?
Coach Lindy Ruff of the Buffalo Sabres got fired after 15 years. Did you know that?
This week?
Oh, I got one.
A couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago.
Boxing.
Yes. Okay. Boxing, he does have a manager. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And that's acceptable. I'm thinking in terms of team, rather than individuals.
But I'd still have a boxing coach.
Okay, here's
the technical part.
Here's the question. Why? Why isn't it a baseball coach?
I don't know.
Well, let's find out.
Will they have... Why is the big cheese on a team? Excuse me, the manager. But isn't it only at the pro level? Isn't it only Major League Baseball? Or maybe in the minor leagues, but isn't it only pro baseball that uses a manager?
That's a good point.
Because we think of Pat Casey as being the coach. We don't call him the manager.
That's a good point. But it's not part of the conversation. Because
I don't know the answer.
Because we're talking about sports at the pro level. So which is more important? A baseball manager, or I'll just pick one of those other 2 biggies, or a football coach?
Who's more important to who?
Who's more important to the team? The team that he manages or coaches?
I'll say the baseball manager. Because he's making. Then
why isn't he a coach? Wouldn't you say coach speaks more of coaching?
of teaching.
Teaching.
You know,
Yes,
baseball.
Very good.
A coach, it implies that they are teaching,
And perhaps that's why they're coaches.
the performance.
And a
the
manager,
is
decision making.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Baseball is a very reactive sport when it comes to the offensive part and
calling pitches, signaling to the base coaches. And
coaches don't call plays.
They
just
do.
have an
That's
offensive
why I'm struggling
coordinator.
with this. You look at a football coach on the sideline calling plays, offensive and possibly defensive, and so I don't know. I don't know that you can really make a distinction.
You did venture to say perhaps the baseball manager was more important. Think that question over. You have we'll throw basketball into this battle as well. Basketball coach, football coach, baseball manager. Is there one that is more important than the other?
To their own team?
To their sport, to their team. And narrow it down to the team. That question is on the sports table. It is a fascinating question that will be discussed here. That's why people are on the edge of their seats. Watch out. These things fall to the floor.
I am.
And we'll be back, return from the sidelines in just a bit.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people. Visit AutoOwners.com. And by Barbasol, America's leader for a close, comfortable shave. So lather up with Barbasol shaving cream and shave like a man. This is Charles Osgood. The beloved manatees of Florida are now fighting for their lives, and people there are very concerned about it, says our CBS News colleague Mark Strassman.
Manatees are whiskered icons here. They laze in warm waters, grazing on vegetation and sleeping. Massive mammals that can grow 13 feet long and weigh 2 tons, but are as gentle as they are big.
Don't have a mean bone in their body, and they're unique to Florida.
What's going on after this?
Confusion ever someone or have sudden...
Have you ever had sudden confusion, trouble speaking, or understanding someone?
It could be one of the 5 signs of stroke.
Sudden weakness or numbness of the face, arm, or leg.
Sudden trouble with vision in one or both eyes.
Suddenly having trouble walking or difficulty with balance.
Or a sudden intense headache that comes out of nowhere.
Don't wait. Call 911 immediately.
Time lost is brain lost.
Find out more at powertoendstroke.org. Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
I have 5 kids and 3 grandkids, and of course they all get sick now and again. But taking a temperature is now easier than ever thanks to the Exergen Temporal Scanner thermometer. All you have to do is scan their forehead, and you get a fast, accurate reading every single time. In fact, it's so accurate that thousands of hospitals and clinics use it too. So say goodbye to those old, uncomfortable, and slippery thermometers. Say hello to the Exergen Temporal Scanner thermometer, changing the way the world takes temperature. Available at Walgreens and other fine retailers.
Have you ever seen a manatee?
It can be a pretty magical experience, and most people in Florida have run across a manatee at some point.
Virginia Edmonds directs care for Florida's mammals at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo, where they have treated manatees poisoned by a new threat to their very existence, says Mark Strassman.
Red tide, a natural algae bloom that has released microscopic toxins which cling to vegetation the manatees eat. Those toxins get into the manatee's nervous system and paralyze them. If they can't come up for air every few minutes, they drown. This year alone, red tide has killed 181 manatees, a record.
There are only about 5,000 of them left in the world, so it's important to rescue as many as they can of those they find in distress and bring them to places like the hospital Virginia Edmonds runs at the zoo.
The animals that we've gotten in are incapacitated. They're sort of comatose. We have to hold their heads up, and they can't take a breath on their own, so we'll spend some time with them, just keeping an eye on them so that they don't drown overnight.
All the manatees brought to this hospital have survived. The red tide has no end in sight. Scientists say a period of heavy rains and winds could help disperse it. But for now, everyone involved expects manatee rescues and recoveries to go on into spring.
The Osgood File. Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
Hi, this is Lynn County Commissioner John Lindsay. Starting in March, it will now be a criminal offense to possess a large soft drink in New York. Yes, it will be a misdemeanor offense to possess the wrong size of soft drink in public, but an establishment bootlegging 32-ounce Pepsis and Dr. Peppers out the back door could face criminal charges. Under His Highness Mayor Bloomberg, you can purchase a 2-liter Mountain Dew at the Quickie Mart, but if the pizza boy shows up with one at your house, he'll be doing the perp walk with murderers and child molesters. The poor pizza kid will also probably be attending New York public schools, where 80% of the graduates have a reading level of 2nd grade or below. The good news is, if the pizza kid is a 16-year-old girl that got knocked up by an adult, Mayor Bloomberg will make sure that she gets a government-funded abortion without parental consent. So you see, it looks like in today's bizarre political world, the whim of a totalitarian leader can outride the common sense and logic of the individuals. In the future, when soda is completely banned, I am sure the liberal elitists will make sure you get pot delivered with that pizza. It's handier for the White House advisors that way. I'm John Lindsay. Thanks for listening.
Organizing volunteers to paint Mighty Oaks Children's Therapy Center, providing funding for the mentoring of children at the Y, sponsoring the Summer Jubilee Back to School event in Lebanon. This is Charlie Eads, owner and general manager of KGAL and KShow Radio. We support the United Way because they are making a difference right here where we live and work. Please join me in supporting the United Way of Lynn County. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united.
You can call us lefty or you can call us righty. We just call it Smarty Talk on 1580 KGAL.
All right, Rob. I know Wally's not wearing his headphones, but you are. Are you ready? You know this song? The Old Ray Family and Rob Allen. When Irish eyes are smiling through the world. Oh, that's not
It's not Home on the Range.
You're not going to sing.
It kind of sounded a little pokey.
They will be singing that in taverns across Buffalo on Sunday. There's a website called Lost Buffalo, and it has to do with a lot of things that have been forgotten in the city of Buffalo. There's one part, where you go to the left-hand column, you got all these things to choose, buildings. One says Irish. Go to Lost Buffalo and look on Irish, and you will see a lot about South Buffalo, and several of the pictures that are there are only a couple of blocks away from where I grew up, and then you will understand more about me on this program. When we left, we were discussing the fascinating subject that baseball has managers. Almost every other thing you can think of has coaches, and you did make a good point about managers. Perhaps there's a little more from sitting on the bench and watching the game that is done, but I disagree with that, with the offensive coordinator, with timeout and the coach calling plays. I don't quite understand the distinction and how it started. That said, it's interesting to see that one calls them the manager, the other coaches. But which sport is more critical?
It's football.
Football.
It's football, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
If you take away the coaches in all three of those sports, the baseball players are going to be able to get through a baseball game. They know what the tendencies are. They know when they're likely to need a pitch out. They could play a baseball game without a coach on the bench. Basketball, same way. Put a ball out there and 5 guys. They can go play a basketball game. Okay, they can run their own plays. They can do that. They don't need the coach on the sideline. Obviously you need a coach, but if you were to take the coaches away in these three sports, football's different. You don't have the advantage of assistant coaches watching from up above, the strategy, more moving parts as far as more players on the field. I think if you were to take the ingredient of coaches away from all three of those sports, I think it's most vital that you have a coach on the sidelines for a football game, and as opposed to the other two.
I would agree with that, Rob.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. The bird in the sky don't lie. When you have coaches that can see from a different perspective, and obviously you study game film and things like that, but teams try to do different things to you throughout the course of a game.
Well, and with football, you have the benefit, even now in the pros. In pro football, a lot of times you used to have the quarterback calling the plays out there, and then you went to plays being run into the field. And then now you have cards and signals and all sorts of stuff for the play calling. But the majority of the play calling is coming either from the press or from the coaches upstairs through the helmet of an NFL player, or from the coaches on the sidelines. You take that ingredient away, then now you have offensive and defensive play calling happening on the field.
And they have a certain amount of time to get that play call in, because I think it's about the 15th second mark.
Yeah.
The communication is dropped. Oh, what was that play again?
Yeah.
I agree.
I would agree. The least important of the three, basketball, football, baseball. The least important, if you had to fire the head man because you just couldn't afford to have a head man in the dugout or on the court or on the field, which sport could get away with it the easiest?
Based on that philosophy, I think probably I would go with basketball.
Basketball, that's surprising.
Yeah,
I thought you'd say baseball.
It's simple.
Yeah, it is. 5 guys, 1 basketball, 5 defenders.
It's simple, but you still have coaches calling timeout to call the plays, and you've got 30 seconds left in the game, and you've got to assemble your team.
The players know too, and you've got a quarterback, you've got a floor general out there. It's usually the point guard. You've got somebody in charge out there that is kind of that person on the court anyway. I think that especially a team. I'm not saying this for a team that has gone their whole season without a coach. I'm saying that if you were to take them away from one isolated game, I think that of those 3 sports, the coach in basketball is the least important.
I see it all the time in Lebanon Church League. There's no coach. There's no coach, man. And these guys have played together through the year. They play in leagues and they play together. They know each other's tendencies, each other's weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah,
they don't need a coach.
A baseball game, you see it all the time in the summertime. You gather for baseball, softball games. Who needs a manager for that? And you take it elevated to the major league level. In baseball, you just go out and you hit the ball, you pitch the ball. Where is the instruction necessary during the game? I'd say baseball is the least.
Yeah, you got pitching changes. You've got those are a close. Those are a close too. But I stick with basketball.
But what interests me here is we are saying that almost all of these sports, perhaps with the exception of football, maybe it's because of the multiple numbers of players you have on the field and the complexity of setting those players where they need to be, etc. It's best to have somebody off the field. Football aside, you don't really need the baseball manager nor the basketball coach. Why are they paid so much then? Back to Parade Magazine and what people earn. It disgusts me what these people are making for a sport, for heaven's sakes. And what we just said, as we sit here and talk about it, as observers of this entity, they don't even need them. And they're making $1 million.
I didn't say they didn't need them.
Oh, I heard you say it. Did you hear him say that?
I answered your question.
I heard him say that.
I answered your question.
With you. They don't need them. What are they making that kind of money for? And if you don't, I will get my tickets to go see the Red Sox again this year. It'll cost me a fortune just to go to Seattle and do that. It would cost less if they got rid of John Farrell from the Red Sox and didn't pay him so much. They don't need him.
You could go after other players.
They were awful last year. They can be awful without John Farrell as the new coach, the new manager. This year, I think it is interesting, and I thought we would get into this when I asked that question about, you don't really need this. And I wanted to hit you with this question, and then why do we pay them so much? And I wanted to go back to the What People Earn thing in the Parade Magazine and say, ladies and gentlemen, it is surprising I don't jump from the second floor of the Cheshire Mansion when I read that thing every year. I can't understand. This is valuable. Well, you guys not so much. What I do here.
Are you a manager?
In coordinating this group in fascinating, in-depth discussion is something that is worth a small fortune. And there's John Farrell with a team that's going to lose 100 games this year. I made $1 million. Well, good for you. I hope you're happy, you worthless piece of. Fill in the blank. All right. Did we only take 2 breaks? I forgot. That's why I don't make a lot of money.
Only taking 2.
Only 2. We better take one more and we'll return.